Hello and welcome to Raj Sabha TV. You're watching India Fights Back with the host Rajat Kain. Well, in this edition of show, we'll have a strict focus on the number of tourists flocking to several tourist destinations, which otherwise, in a normal circumstances, would have been completely innocuous and completely normal. But we're not living in normal times. These are pandemic times, restrictions are on. Some states are slowly opening up. We're opening up economic activities so that people can sustain their livelihood. But at the same time, there is a larger responsibility on every one of us so as to keep maintaining COVID appropriate behavior. Now, these are simple things, but of late, this has been signaled, this has been flagged by several authorities that tourists, especially in several destinations across the country, is not following what is expected to be COVID appropriate behavior. There have been several pictures that are either on the online medium, on several social networking sites, and also in newspaper publications, whereby experts and even the administrations and even people right at the top have flagged these issues as worrisome development, as the pandemic is not over yet. The second wave, to say of, is not over yet. Well, how important therefore it is to follow these COVID appropriate behavior and what all needs to be done, especially taking into view the rush that we are seeing in tourist destination sites. Well, we're joined with Dr. Pragya D. Yadav. She's Scientist E and Incharge Maximum Containment Laboratory, ICMR. Ma'am, many thanks for joining us. And Dr. Sunil Sanon, he is MD Internal Medicine and Senior Consultant Physician from Mussoorie, Uttarakhand. Many thanks, Dr. Sanon, for joining us. Let me start with you, Dr. Yadav. Ma'am, the recent development that we have seen in papers or in social media is certainly worrisome. What do you have to make out of it?
As we all know that we are still ongoing with the pain of the second wave with the pandemic, and the sudden behavior of people going hill station and not following the mask practices, social distancing is actually really very worrisome situation for us, especially when the same Delta variant which caused a second wave in India has been spread to Europe, UK and in the United States of America and causing now havoc. Even the cases has been increased in Russia and other countries. So a Delta variant is still circulating with AY1 and AY2 is a further mutated variant. And if we are not cautious at this moment, we may land up in a severe situation again. So I think it's a time to wake up and be more responsible for the country and for the people. That's what I think at the moment.
Absolutely. Ma'am, many thanks for your opening remarks. Stay on, Dr. Yadav. I'll come back to you. Dr. Sanon, you come from Uttarakhand, and Uttarakhand, we all know it's a tourist destination, especially during peak summers. There are several hill stations in your state, and among that certainly is Mussoorie. Sir, what is the situation over there and how the COVID appropriate behavior is being enforced?
The situation of Mussoorie is, may I say, 40–50% more of crowd thronging onto Mussoorie than it would have been expected generally.
Okay.
I've reliably learned that there was a report that about 6,000 vehicles were lining up into Mussoorie, one day of influx recently. And considering that to be 5 tourists in a car, that means 30,000 people walking in to Mussoorie, whereas maybe the average could have been around 20 or so earlier.
Right.
The issue is not that what is the number of people who are coming. It is what is the frenzied state of mind in which they are coming. I would like to term something like released out of the cage or out of Tihar jail or something like that, because people have been under a lockdown physically.
Right.
They have had the slump socioeconomically, and they've been absolutely pent up mentally. Even routinely, whenever people come to Mussoorie, I was born here, I have been watching tourists coming and enjoying my town in the Himalayas and its pristine beauty. But whenever they come, they are in a real right mood of enjoying. But what could be the state of mind of people? What a state of ecstasy it would be when they feel that they are out of the lockdown and they're out of the phase two, though wrongly, and they are reaching Mussoorie, paradise. In that state, they are out of their mind. Uh, they're literally, they're freaking out. Now, if they're freaking out, how do we say, stop, statue? Wait, listen, are you COVID appropriate or not?
Absolutely.
There's
Absolutely.
nobody to listen, nobody to hear. And police bandobast, as we may call it, is meant for a routine situation. Here, we cannot have one policeman for 10 or 15 or 20 people to see that we behave properly. It is every citizen's duty to be COVID appropriate in thinking and conduct, whether in Delhi or Mussoorie, and especially in hill stations at the moment.
Well, that's absolutely right. You're completely bang on target, I must say, Dr. Sanon. Dr. Yadav, ma'am, as we have seen, as we just heard from Dr. Sanon about, as if there is this mindset of people just being out of some sort of restrictions or just try and, just using an analogy of just being out of the jail. So it is expected that there would be some sort of a rush or excitement. The lockdown has been lifted. At the same time, how would you rate a situation in terms of the spread of disease, which is still clocking above 40,000 cases per day, and vaccination drive, which has picked up pace, but at the same time, there is a large number of people who are still to be vaccinated. Ma'am.
So, as you said very correctly, that the vaccine is only given to almost, I think we are reaching around 40 crores of the vaccination, but it still is a very small proportion of whole country we consider as a population. So we have to go a long way in spite of all the efforts, and a huge number of vaccinations going on every day now. But still it will take time to vaccinate a larger population. So we have no other choices rather making these social distancing and follow the COVID appropriate behavior. But in these hill stations, I think there's some kind of restriction if we can be applied on the travel when people are coming to these states, doing the booking or on. So I think some kind of restriction if we can apply the people who are coming to a city suddenly surge. So if it can be done, maybe we can control somehow. But at the same time, I think social programs and message has to be given again and again to people to remind that we are not out of pandemic. We are still in the same phase, and we need to be patient, and we have to be, because see, if you look at the children who are at home, look at the old people who are at home, the children has not gone to school, and it's actually affecting their physical and mental health.
Right.
And if we keep behaving like this, it will not change, and we have to see suffering of not only the children but also the old people who are at home and not allowed to go out, travel around and meet people. So I think it is affecting in large our country economy and many ways actually. So if we go again and again in the lockdown because people are not responsible, we will end up in the same again one more severe wave, because here virus is not responsible. Here the people are responsible. If they behave well, maybe we can get rid of this disease quickly, and we can go in a normal path. But which will not happen if we keep behaving similar way.
Right, absolutely. I mean, there has to be balance that needs to be struck between the economic activities. Certainly, the lockdown is not an option. That is what the general consensus is. Dr. Sanon, we have often heard about these statements. Let me just, this is very, very oft heard. कि देख लेंगे यार, सब चलता है, it's okay, खुल गया है, we'll try and we'll see. ये we'll see वाला mindset जो है sir, how dangerous is this?
I am sorry to remind some bereaved families of my dear country and world, where mortality has taken the toll of one and much more than one in a given family. Even in today's date, as time has passed and they are healing out of the bereavement, my condolences to such families. Because I'm referring to them at this moment.
Right.
You have to see, rethink, and ask those families where family members have been swiped away, money or no money, power, contacts or no contacts, bed and oxygen or no oxygen, remdesivir or not.
Yeah.
Unless it has not to be spread to spread fear and fear psychosis in the country. But if this realization doesn't settle down, our conduct will be कि बिंदास देखी जाएगी. सब चलता है, सब जगह सब चलता है, but not in this situation. As far as lockdown is concerned, if lockouts would have changed the mindset of the criminals, crime would have ended long time back. Because they were jailed even at the time of Lord Krishna, whose Vasudevji was wrongly confined is a separate matter. I'm talking mythology and history both. But if lockdowns would have, then the crime would have been wiped out. So if lockdowns of the society would change this behavior of the virus and save us from it, it would have happened. It is our conduct when we are out that we remain still in a state of balanced conduct. There is just no way out. Mask is no more zaruri. Mask is now majburi.
Necessity as well.
And if we don't think that there is no choice but for the mask to be worn and to be worn properly and to be kept properly back home, to be replaced, or even if it has to be washed in a specific way, this awareness has to reach down through NGOs, through social clubs, through people. And I do not think that it is only the Prime Minister of India, Modi ji's duty to address the country time and again on this matter. It is not high time, it is really high time that we realize it and we quietly start following it to the letter and spirit.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right, sir. Right, sir. Dr. Yadav, let's just broad basing this discussion and moving beyond just the binaries of tourists and crowds at the hill stations or tourist destinations. If we look at the overall scenario of the pandemic situation, like there are people who have been inoculated with both the doses. There are people who are yet to get the first dose. I'm talking of a hypothesis in a family. Ma'am, so over there, as we saw that in the second wave, youngsters were the most vulnerable groups. Even today, whom do you think would be the age group or the category of person who should be extremely careful while stepping out?
So actually, in the beginning of the pandemic, people would thought that only the old people had high risk, but children and young people are safe. But during the second wave, when the Delta variant was surged, and it is shown actually it's, when the gathering and mass gathering, marriages and things happened, the most active group was the young people. So, this Delta variant has a very high transmissibility, and because of the mass gathering, this virus infected a large population. And we have to always remember, if they are young, it doesn't mean that they are healthy. Many of the people have problems, health issues, genetic disorders, and so on. So if they are not healthy completely, they can be infected, and they can have the serious implication of the disease, which we have seen during the second wave when the hospitalization was there. Even many young people died. Even known in the known, if you ask anybody, some or other person has lost somebody with the pandemic in the second wave. So, and a second thing, after the vaccination, also people can get infected. It is known from the beginning, because this is a respiratory disease, and even though if you get a cellular and humoral immunity, virus can cross through your nasal and oral, and it can infect your lung. So if it can infect, definitely the virus will be there, but it is a known fact and it has been proven. We also have done a study during the second week where we have monitored the breakthrough cases across the country, and we have seen that if you are vaccinated, surely the disease severity and the deaths are minimal. Actually, it is none, and even hospitalization are very less with these all with the vaccination. So that's the main hypo initially, because everybody knows the vaccination has two main important role to play. First, it can give you sterile immunity and you don't get infection. Second, it can at least protect you and protect from the severe disease. So with the COVID, and this is not only in the India, but breakthrough has been reported all
Right.
over the world with the best vaccine, which is been claimed for the highest efficacy. So this disease is different. So the work, the action is different. And from the beginning, every scientific person has gone to the community in each country, and but somehow we can understand it's a tiredness, it's fatigue effect, and people are getting tired of a long restricted environment. And but still, it is a pandemic. It is not some small outbreak which will be over in a day or two. And moreover, it's not the virus, it's the people behavior.
Right.
As soon as people accept that they can change, they can become responsible, we can get rid of it. And moreover, even though if we think that India can get rid of this disease today, the surrounding countries has this ongoing outbreak, and it will keep passing from one country to another country. So it is a cumulative, globally responsibility of everyone to work together. Then only we can get rid of this disease. Otherwise, this vicious cycle will keep going on forever.
Absolutely, certainly. Dr. Sanon, sir, your take, as we have seen, there have been several variants, and initially in the first wave, to say of last year, we had fair amount of classification that people with comorbidities and senior citizens are the higher risk of getting infected. But here in the second wave, that myth was also broken when a lot of youngsters, they were infected, and unfortunately several of them lost their lives. So as per you, as an expert, what's your take? The best person to go out for daily chores, because life has to go on. We have to step out of the homes to go to markets, buy groceries, vegetables, etc. Best person per you suitable to go out, sir?
The best person to go out is the one who is most lucky not to get it. The problem is that it is not stamped. I hope you'll agree, Dr. Pragya. It's not stamped on the forehead of any that what is his T lymphocyte count and what is his humoral immunity. How strong is he? Is he a bad smoker or not? Is he physically active in terms of keeping his lungs inflated well enough, and does he do deep breathing exercises or not? Is he overweight? Is he more sedentary? Nothing is more. However, I have been following a particular sort of a, may I call it an SOP, and sharing with people that those individuals who have already had COVID a couple of months back, maybe 3 months or more, and have recovered from it fully, who are not short of breath while walking, and do not have spells of any return of fever or high pulse rate, all this which can fall under a new category called as long COVID. I hope Dr. Pragya will agree to what I'm saying. So those who are fit and they are fighting fit after having had COVID. So they are well shielded. So they can move out from each family or a group of a few families to pick up the daily requirements that are there, and yet see that they don't loiter around because they are out back into the market. Do their job and come back in a business-like fashion. I have abbreviated it like positive youth, very responsible. P is for being COVID positive and healthy. Youth is for being younger age group. And V is for those who are vaccinated. And R is for those who are responsible and go as a racer, go to do their job and come back. So positive youth, very responsible, is a positive message for the youth. My salam to the youth, because I'm not in that active, wonderful phase of life, though I'm still fit. They are the safest people to go. And in case there are families where they are, because of nuclear family issues and children, going far away for different kind of assignments and occupations. We should create a definite group of youth who are falling in this group of positive youth who are very responsible to also cater to the needs of those old people who are at home and are supposed to remain at home to keep safe from any exposure. As far as the mutation is concerned, it is very much the expertise of Dr. Pragya, but in my little capacity as a doctor, I have something to say, which is a mix and match. A mix and match of a little that I know about medicine. I definitely remember what I had read, and I keep apprising myself, and surely a little of philosophy. Survival of the fittest. Of course, known to everybody. Even if the two of us were not doctors, we've read it. Mutation from Mendel's time onwards. Actually, he only observed it, but it was happening from the very beginning. So, survival of the fittest is why the virus is mutating. I suppose that little dead chemical known as a virus outside the body gets into the aspect of consciousness and awareness the moment it gets into a human body. I'm talking of COVID-19. Now it has its own awareness and consciousness.
Okay.
We look at it still as a tiny little naughty notorious virus, but it is live. It is alive, and it would have the ability to sense what is happening in its microenvironment around it, within the cells or in between the cells, intracellularly or intercellularly, from one tissue to the other, from one organ to the other, and the flowing blood. It finds out that now we, through our immunity, through our vaccination, through various medicines and passage of time, we are targeting it and it is dying. It is losing its creed. And it would like to survive. So it creates a modification in its overall defense mechanism is equal to mutation. Now, the rate at which it is competent of mutating is superb. Look at we, a collection of maybe 13 trillion cells or more. We said to be the most evolved of the beings on Mother Earth. We cannot realize the limitations and the challenges, the tribulations, the tragedy, the cost which humanity is paying, and we cannot create little badlav in ourselves. If badlav is not countered by badlav, virus will take us. But if virus is mutating, and we cannot, please get me a mask. If virus is mutating, and we cannot create only this much of badlav that we can wear a mask, my God, virus is changing its own dynamics, its structure, its ability to protect itself, its ability to create a probe and enter, the anaerobic probe which has to enter, and the aerobic activity, God knows what all. That little virus has so much capability, and we know everything about it, and we know everything about ourselves. But do we prepare ourselves to bring in this much of badlav, which I am now depicting?
Right.
This
Absolutely, sir.
This badlav is not happening for one factor, sir. People say, "Saans phulta hai, I get breathless, I get very suffocated, I am claustrophobic, my oxygen concentration falls, saturation falls down when I have a good quality mask. I would like to wear just a dupatta or a rumal for a boy." Less sense. I am not saying nonsense, but it almost amounts to that, close to it. Less sense. Madam, sir, my countrymen, the reason that we don't want to wear a mask is our vanity. I don't look so good and smart when I am so much covered, and I want to be seen in my best form. I respect and salute your self-esteem, but not at the cost of losing the steam out of life.
Right.
We are no more all that good. We are not all that smart. We are not all that pretty. We are not all that handsome. And my side pose and my front pose. And so we hang the mask here so that people may keep seeing my very wonderful face and face death.
Right, sir. Right. That's very well summarized, sir. Especially like, now the onus is rather, I mean, it's responsibility of all of us to follow COVID appropriate behavior to keep the pandemic at bay. Dr. Yadav, ma'am, your last words as we go to the close of the show. Besides COVID appropriate behavior and behaving responsibly whenever we step out, whenever we plan vacations, go to other cities or drive, what other things that you suggest would be suitable at this stage so that we don't invite another surge in numbers?
So I think the hand washing, which was the primary teaching of the medical courses, that we have to wash our hands frequently, and that is needed at the moment as much as any time we have seen in the past. Second, I just remind the smallpox, which was such a major disease in our country and adjoining India. And with a great difficulty, the only vaccinations finally worked and disease was eradicated.
Right.
Imagine the death rate of and severity of smallpox. So we have to remind ourselves, if there is something which is blocking people to take the immunization, they should go ahead and do the immunization as we keep doing for our children without thinking much efficacy and how it will affect us, something like that. The children are born and immediately they are given BCG and nobody questions. Similarly, I think as a citizen of this globe and this country, we have a joint responsibility not only follow the COVID behavior, but also go for immunization as and when you get an opportunity and when you are aligned. And same time, when you are traveling, you wash your hands, you change your mask time to time whenever you feel there was exposure, you felt something was not right. And if you are using the cotton mask, they have to be washed thoroughly using appropriate reagents, soaking them sufficient time, so that if there was exposure of infected material, it should be dead. And after that, you should sun dry, press, iron them, and then if you use it, it make assure that you are not using an infected mask. So in case if somebody is infected or suspected, they should be tested and they should be definitely follow the guideline which has government given to them.
Right.
And by any mean, we should not be just thinking about our business, our personal reason, but we should think about a larger perspective of the country, that we have to come out of the disease. And I think once it is done, we will be free to travel, we will be free to enjoy our life, and we can go in a normal mode. And I think these restriction is not big for getting to that phase. And I think if we behave it, we will reach there very soon. Thank you so much.
Right, ma'am. That's very well put. So clearly we have this responsibility, dear viewers, COVID appropriate behavior, plus vaccination of whosoever who is eligible as per the medical guidelines. Well, that's it in this edition of the show. Thank you, Dr. Sanon, for joining us from Mussoorie, and thank you, Dr. Yadav from ICMR, to be part of this show. Thank you and goodbye.